So this is Isaac here, and an interesting fact is, did you know kangaroos can't jump backwards? Yeah, okay. So,
Do you know what you get when you cross a kangaroo and an elephant?
no.
Big holes all over Australia.
So C60 in a particular rat study has been shown to increase life expectancy by 90% in the rats, and that was the C60 dissolved in olive oil. The olive oil acts as a carrier mechanism because the C60 has to be dissolved down into the molecular level to be able to be absorbed by a cell. It won't be absorbed in the crystal form. You can actually dissolve or just eat C60 crystals, but they'll just pass through because they can't be active. Now, C60 is a carbon buckyball. It's just 60 carbon atoms formed into a sphere, just like a soccer ball has 60 points, so that gives you a general idea of that. Now, in the study, they had two other groups, a water group and an olive oil only group. The water group lived on average between 26 and 28 months, which is normal. And the C60 group, or the olive oil group, lived, what was it, I think 32, 35 months on average. One actually got all the way up to 50. That one actually lived significantly longer than all the two other control groups, but the average still came to about 32, 35. That one just had really good results. Now, a thing important to know about the study is that they intermittently fasted the rats the night prior, and that's important due to the fact that intermittent fasting in other studies has been shown to increase life expectancy, but nowhere near 90%, granted. So that the intermittent fasting is hardly significant. If you noticed, the water group actually did not live any significant longer on average. They only lived about 2.5, and those rats are known to live up to 3. So they, even with intermittent fasting, they didn't get any kind of noticeable increase. So I don't think that really might have worked for the others as well. Now, a second really important thing to note is that the study was not a longevity study at all. That's actually probably one of the most important. They were actually testing for toxicity. Now, they gave the rats really high doses of the olive oil. An equivalent dose for us would be a little bit over 100 milligrams at about, that's almost like a half a cup of oil, okay? And the thing is, the rats can't digest the oil as well. So they had to actually cycle it with the rats. For us humans, we won't have to do that, but one of the theories states that cycling would also help with the epigenetics and that messes with mitochondria, but I'll talk about that a little bit later, so stay tuned if you want to hear those kind of details. They only dosed the rats for a 7-month period, and that was due because in the study, they started with 2-month-old rats, and the schedule was that they'd stop dosing the rats when the first control rat died, and the first control rat died at 7 months. Now, that's significant, seeing that they dosed the rats for 7 months. That's less than a third of their lifespan on average. And with that small little cycle of dosing, they got the C60 rats got a 90% increase in lifespan. And all those rats died all within the same time span, within, I think, was 4 months of each other. And I'll have an image up here if you've already seen it that's talking about all this. So just that 7 months did a significant result. And people on longicity.org, that's a forum I'm a part of, a really good forum, and one of the only forums I actually regularly visit every single day. There's not a day I don't go to it. But over there, we actually have several people actually ingesting the substance, the olive oil plus C60, and most young people don't notice anything much at all. I mean, what's their notice if it's going to do an anti-aging effect or if it's going to do longevity? You won't really know till later. So they're testing to see, hopefully, that it might keep them from aging or keep them younger or extend their lifespan, which is why I'm taking it. Now, older people on the forum I've noticed, and they're doing really low doses, usually less than 5, more like at the 4 milligram range, which, of course, the rat study is really low, but they take it every single day, and it seems to be working. A lot of them are noticing that they've had bald spots fill in. I mean, they've actually had bald spots that are getting worse, but they're almost completely reversed, gone. They've had scars that have been fading. One particular guy had a scar on his chest from he had a mole removed, and it never really did heal back right. It just was really ugly. He didn't like taking his shirt off at a beach or anything. It just looked bad. And after about a year and a half, that scar is almost gone. It's almost not even noticeable. And he never took a picture of it, and he wished he had. Another guy, he's not necessarily, I'm not going to say he's old, but he was fairly wrinkled in the face. And after about a year and a half, he significantly de-wrinkled to the point that people de-wrinkled to the point. I don't know how to put that.
He just ironed his face, that's all.
He just ironed his face. To the point that people were actually noticing and commenting, like, dude, you look younger. And he is in a movie industry area. And a producer, director that is, he was an A-type person where the first time he ever meets you or sees you or meets you again, he looks you up and down and pretty much reads you really well, and that's pretty much what he does. He's good at that. And the guy met up with him at the studio, and the first thing he says after looking him down is, "You look younger. What have you been doing?" And he told him. So that was pretty cool. I mean, if you have something like that notice, and that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth, then that's fairly significant in my mind. Now, I have the links all to the stuff below where you actually go to the posts individually, and I have the studies about the science behind it and different varying theories of explaining why it works. One of the theories, I'm going to go over this briefly, is that it actually embeds in the cell membranes, and it acts as a super antioxidant. It can accept and donate electrons without taking damage, whereas, say, like a vitamin E, and this is true with most antioxidants, is that they can only use once or twice whether they're recycled, and C60 does not recycle, it just stays there. It can be reused and reused. And even when a cell dies, the C60 can be absorbed by another cell and used yet again. And I think that's in the study why they live 90% longer, even after being taken off of it 7 months in, because a lot of the C60, the small amount that stays in the cell, was able to recycle before it all got passed out to a significant degree to where its effects stopped working and they eventually died. Oh, and yes, this is another super important point, is most of these rats they were testing with almost always died with tumors in their brains. The olive oil group and the water group both died with tumors. Now, the third group, the olive oil group with plus C60, none of them died with tumors in their brains. And they also did the toxicity results after the fact, and no toxicity, and they were perfectly fine. And the rest of the
Other than being dead,
because they were taking off the supplement. Or was I going with how you stopped me?
they had no
They
tumors in their
and
brains.
the C60 rats have died of either pneumonia of just generalized old age. So that's a lot better than dying of tumors. So hopefully, and the study right now is being replicated on longevity by members of not necessarily the board, but just community members. I was actually thinking about doing it myself, but I was like, I'll just wait for them to do it because I don't have the time to do rats because of so many other projects going on. I don't have time.
Kill you with that many rats.
No, I'd only do about 3. Just C60 rats, just C60. I don't care about community. I just want to see if it works. They'd live to be about 6 years, and after about 6 years, I just keep them on it and see how long I can keep them alive. I have like 15-year-old rats. They're not dead yet. They're not even losing hair. Something like that. I need about 3 rats because one could just die of random pneumonia because it's not going to. It should help you protect you from different diseases by keeping your body protected from oxidants. But if you get a bullet to the head, it's not going to stop that. Sorry, it helps with aging and oxidation.
You can't do anything about cats.
No. So yeah. So I think that wraps it up for C60. So I think we're going to move on from that. Maybe NSI-189. I talked about that in a different video. I'll put a link right here. NSI-189. Yes, Lee?
We need to discuss the olive oil, why the right kind of olive oil is important to mix with a C60.
Using the right olive oil, you have to have high quality olive oil. A recent study that you may be aware of at the time of the video is that they've shown that about 68-69% of the olive oil you buy in stores, extra virgin olive oil that isn't really extra virgin olive oil. It's been cut with something, it's been refined. It's essentially false advertising that shouldn't be happening. And it's not just olive oil that happens with a lot of things. But using a really high quality oil, I use Cortina, that specific type, because it has a high phenol content. Now, the soluble rate of C60 into olive oil is about 8 milligrams per milliliter. So that's pretty cool. Myself, I'm dosing, if you care, my cycle, you can also see this on my stack. I started with 50 milligrams for 5 days, then I take a 3-day break, and then I'm doing 3 days on at either 20 to 25 milligrams, and then taking it off for 2 to 3 days again, kind of cycling. It keeps the dose low. And there is an epigenetic upgrading effect where this is one of the theories that it promotes the good mitochondria DNA while suppressing the bad. That you need time for those good mitochondrial DNA to repopulate and grow without if you
Cut out the bad ones.
And cut out the bad ones. If you do it too much, then you could actually harm the good ones. That's a theory, and that theory stated around that it might demythalize the mitochondria. But that theory might be kind of thrown out, seeing that in recent studies shown, but this study also needs replication and different parameters to see what's going on. But the study shows that as you age, methylation of mitochondria decreases and methylation of DNA increases. So that might be thrown out, or you could change the theory and say that it could be messing with manipulation of DNA instead. And that could be part of the anti-aging effect. But we need more studies, we need more information. Right now, it's just all theories, and all the theories are posted below. I have my theories I like about, and I've merged about several of them I like. But we'll see what happens, and I really hope this works. I think everybody hopes this works. Hope this would work. Frankly, living forever would be awesome, and living forever at a young state and not actually aging, which I like to call the Peter Pan effect. You know. Okay, moving on. Okay, we're done with C60. I did a lot of the science there.
But you didn't go too deep, so that's fine.
I can. Can I talk about?
Don't.
Sorry.
Once again,
That was a joke.
yourself.
That was a joke. Being sarcastic. Moving on. NSI-189 is the best compound I found for antidepressant to be antidepressive. And C60 is the best thing I found so far that isn't necessarily proven in humans, but it has paramount potentialities for anti-aging, so that I got that maybe figured out. Now, with NSI-189, other than life practices, this is what I found that worked the best. In the study they did on rats, they showed a 20% increase in the density of hippocampus, and that's important, seeing that in the most effective antidepressant drugs out there, which I really don't care for because those compounds are just weird, and the way they get the job done is just kind of ugly, the chemistry is. But NSI-189 is actually a lipid, an oil, so there's not really any tolerance issues there, and it's the chemistry behind it is kind of nice, which I hope there's more studies coming about that will show the chemistry and exactly what it's doing. But it does increase neurogenesis in the hippocampus. Now, the most effective drugs that are antidepressive have been shown to increase the hippocampus density by 1, 2, and 5%, usually less than 1, and they also have a load of side effects. Now, NSI-189 increases it by 20% in the study of rats, and they're studied that they're in the second phase B trials. The first phase B trials, they reported no side effects. It does seem to work for antidepressants. The company Neuralstem is marketing it for, or being ready to market it for, antidepressant, PTSD, a whole load of other issues, mental issues. And they also have a second compound, NSI-5888, I think is what it was. I'd have to look it up. I'll put a little link right here what that is to correct myself, but we actually on longestcity.org, I'm bringing that forum up again, we did a group buy for that, because once we read about this, we had to do a group buy for it. I'm actually the person, I'm Q did it, I actually started the group buys on Longestity, or got that kind of going, along with Yada Yada and I think 2 other guys, if I don't remember their names. And I'll put a link right here, or at least an annotation, giving credit to them, because I don't want to never actually credit people like Einstein did. Einstein's lame, because he actually stole that idea from, what's the mathematician's name, Lee?
I don't know.
I know the name. I can see his face. Names. I am terrible with names. If he had a social security number, I would have remembered that before I remembered his name. But moving on with NSI-189, we did a group buy with that, and the group, the study did 40 milligrams, either 2 or 2 times a day, and they did that for like 3 months, and they took a break and they cycled it in long term, and they reported no side effects, which is awesome, especially with the fact that it actually works, and it's possibly the strongest known antidepressant. I'm going to break right here and go back a little bit. The company, Neuralstem, eventually started the development of this drug because they were recruited by the government to make a drug that would help with PTSD specifically. And it was known that the hippocampus in PTSD shrinks in density a load with PTSD, which most people won't really know that. So they got a computer, supercomputers, and they ran simulations of different protein synthesis and all that, and find compounds that would work. And they came up with 10,000 likely possibilities. And with all those possibilities, they narrowed it down to the NSI-189 and the NSI-5888, if I'm still probably saying that wrong. So that's important. So going back to further on. Now, with our group buy, our effects, we noticed that made people super hungry. Myself, I didn't really notice that because I'm the kind of person I don't really get hungry anyway. And if I do, I just ignore it because I don't like being hungry. So that may not really work for me. But that was one side effect noticed. But that could be because of the neurogenesis happening, and you need all those proteins in fat, and you need uridine to do the DNA transcription. Which, if you supplement uridine with it, that actually could help with hunger, I would think. And that's Mr. Happy Stack. We'll talk about that in a different video. I'm going on so many different tangents, but I'm stopping myself. Okay. Oh, I mean, there's so many things that work with this, and different things that it goes. going back on task. Now in group I, and a second effect that was noticed was, what was that? I think made it sound, there was headaches related with it. Some people at higher doses, like the 40 milligrams twice a day, people would get headaches, but that might have been because it was a little overstimulating. Some people would say that their brain was growing too fast, making pressure. It's like, that is extremely unlikely. This is density. It's not making it more voluminous. So we kind of argued with that for a minute. But if you lower the dose to about 5 milligrams, even 10, once a day, the effect was still as strong, but there was no headaches. And I never went over 10 milligrams. Actually, I never went over 20 milligrams because I noticed we only got 2.5 grams, and frankly, I wanted it to last for a long time. And I did the 20 milligrams for about a month. Well, I started a week at the 20, then I stepped it down to 10, and I came off of it about a month. And in a review right here at this link, I actually talk about NSI-189 more and what it did for me, and how it helped me with paracetam withdrawal, which frankly there's paracetam withdrawal for some people, and I was one of those people. And that's stopping that tangent. There's the link's right there. NSI-189. So now if you're wanting to get this yourself, the time of this video might be too late, but on longisc.org we have a second group buy going on to where you can pretty much order about up to, I think, 30 grams, at the lowest being 1 gram, maybe 1.5 grams. That's pretty cheap. And we get from our Polish supplier, which I won't list for the sake of keeping them safe, yeah. Because they're they actually make pharmaceutical grade chemicals and all that, and they are a specialty lab. They get super high purities, which is why they were chosen in the first. And they're Polish, so they're freaking awesome. You Polish people. So if you want, I'll put the link below for that, and let's move on from there. Lee's turn.
It's almost 9 o'clock.
I still have 30 minutes. Go.
Okay.
Ugh.
What am I talking about?
I don't know. Start another topic. Ugh. I noticed with the C60, I stayed on task pretty well, but the NSI-189 I did jump around because there's so much there that goes in with that. The thread's like, 86 pages long? I haven't even talked about PRL 853. Oh god, that's what started it all. But there's not too much actually to tell there that's important.
Again, you have to stay with the basics of why somebody should consider experimenting with it, what good effects they should expect, any possible detriment for it. Oh, one thing you haven't discussed is the cost of these things.
Yeah, I said it's pretty real quick, let's wrap up the cost. The cost of C60, SES Labs, that's a company in Texas, makes the C60. That's you can get 99.95% purity greater, and you get 99.98 and get 99.99 or greater purity. Now the amount increases 1 gram at the 99.95, I think is 60. Then
Dollars?
Yeah, but that's 1 gram, and you're going to be dosing 50 milligrams for 5 days, whatever dosing schedule you decide on. But then after that, you might go down to 5 milligrams, or you might do that, but then it's pretty cheap at that point. Initial costs are higher. The olive oil, which I go with Amphora olive, because I really like olive oil company, because I really like them. They have really good quality. They actually test their oils. They show the results, how high the phenol content is, and I like that. I like knowing what I'm ingesting.
And they have free bottles.
Yes, and their olive oil tastes like olive oil, like as it is in the stores. I've compared the taste of store-bought olive oil and real olive oil, and they're different. And that kind of says something right there, and even Lee's noted that.
Yeah, it's not nearly as strong.
Yeah, because they're actually trying to enhance the flavor and make it taste like olive oil. And I'm like, frankly, olive oil doesn't taste like that, people. And what I got you was actually really strong olive oil because of the oil content. I mean, that's about as strong as you can get. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get a different breed of olive oil that's stronger, but that's good olive oil. So initial cost for me, if you're going to do 1 bottle, your very first cycle might cost about less than $100. Even with shipping, your very first cycle would be $100. After that, you'd be dosing less. Say the first bottle lasts you a month, and then after that, a bottle after that can last you from 1 month to 3, and that's still about $100, or even less if you buy in bulk. You actually, the more you buy of NSI-189, the cheaper. And then also with olive oil, you can buy larger bottles, which I do the 750 milliliter bottles. So, and whatever dosing schedule you pick, the less you take, the cheaper it is. But then you might not have the strongest effect. Now with NSI-189, the price was, I think, for 5 grams, it's like $200, and then 10 grams, like $300, something like that. I'll put the links below if you want to see those prices. So that's still there. Okay, I'm just doing a lot of rambling, but there's so much to say, as always.
Okay.
Also,
you might care to hear this. I supplement iodine, and that's up for debate. Now, I'll be doing a video individualistically about that because that's a big topic, but I supplement 1 to 2 milligrams a day, usually in the morning. Now, I do potassium iodine. I actually get Lugol's, but that has elemental iodine, but to take the elemental iodine away, I put vitamin C in there. That turns the elemental iodine into iodine ion. Now, the reason for that is if you actually ingest elemental iodine, that will go straight into your body, and the first thing it finds, it will strip an ion off of that, and it can actually damage stuff, so that's bad. Lugol's has actually been shown to work as a very good antiseptic. Like, I'll actually use a little bit if I have to do injections for cerebrolysin. I'll use an alcohol swab to clean it, and then I'll go back a little bit of Lugol's and put that over it. So that helps with that. And I cycle cerebrolysin. That's also one there. We'll leave that out for now. That's not that important. With the iodine, though, there's been studies showing that it actually causes people to get sick, and it can harm them, especially if they have thyroid problems. The reason being is that iodine, you never want to take that alone, above like 150 mcg. That's the FDA's recommended daily intake, because it has to have accompanying nutrients, or it actually can be damaging. You have to take it with L-selenium, or actually selenium. That's what I mean to say, because it's actually L-selenium, some kind of really weird long word I need to know. But if you don't have those accompanying nutrients with it, it actually can be damaging. They work together, and a lot of the studies don't show that. They just test just iodine, and they get bad results because of that. It has to have everything. The car doesn't just take gas; it also needs oil, or it's going to burn. If you don't have any oil in a car and you put gas in it, you're going to go for so long, and then it's going to burn up.
Okay, you're getting tired. We need to stop.
I have 10 minutes.
What else? We have one more thing.
No, I have something else I want to do. So turn it off. Yes, please.
So let's say goodbye.
Well, good night, Gracie.
Okay, so this is an end of this vlog, and we'll be doing another one soon, shortly. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. All this rambling and inconsistency and different branches of thought.
Surely you are going to edit this.
I might edit it, I might not. I don't know. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay.